Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and it's our favorite time of the week, taking a look at the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves. Let's check them out. All right, we're starting off this week with a limited Benchmade. This is the Mini Adamas. This is the 2022 SHOT Show exclusive, which doesn't mean it's exclusive to us here at the Knife Center, but it was essentially only available for ordering at 2022's SHOT Show. So these are not going to be around forever, but they are really cool while they are around. It's the Mini Adamas. The blade spec is the same. You've got a crew wear blade steel, very cool stuff, and you've got a micarta handle, and it looks like burgundy when you are just kind of glancing at it, but it actually has distinct layers of red and black. They kind of blend in a little bit to create a more uniform kind of shade, but as you're kind of holding the knife and appreciating it, there's a little bit more. There's almost a kind of like wood grain effect that it gives on this particular knife in a way. It's pretty darn cool. Price on this one is about $225, which how does that compare to the standard version? I guess I should have maybe looked that up.
You might not.
It is the same price as the standard version. So if you want something a little extra special without a little extra on top of, or a little extra coming out of your wallet, this is a pretty good thing right there. Really cool knives. I like the size of this. It's funny, the Mini Adamas made my list in 2022, or sorry, this is 2022 right now, isn't it, Thomas?
Math is hard.
In 2021, I put the Mini Adamas as one of my top picks for the year. I think it's a fantastic knife. I like it even better than the full-sized Adamas, even though I own a full-size Adamas and not one of the minis, just because I had more of a need for, or felt like I had more of a need for the large one in my life than the mini, but I think the mini is oh so good. 3¼ inch blade. It is stout, it still slices well, and the handle just grips. It's got enough space for my slightly larger than average hands. If you have really big hands, you might struggle a little bit with the beak here at the end, but it fits me great. You've also got that deep carry pocket clip, which is reversible, making this entire knife ambidextrous because you also have dual thumb studs and you've got the axis lock, that crossbar going through, easily accessible from either side, keeps your fingers away from the blade when you close it. Just a very sweet, harder working knife without taking up too much room in your pocket. Further on the Benchmade crew wear adventure is the new Anonimus fixed blade, spelled Anonimus, because the only thing worse than spelling it the way the word anonymous is actually spelled, which people always misspell, is changing it up. So the people who know how to spell it are also going to misspell it when they try to search for it.
The ends are backwards on the box too.
Oh yeah, but they aren't on our website. I forgot about that. So it's like a 9-inch nails type of thing or something like that.
Yeah, the limitations of ASCII.
Sorry for poking a little bit of fun at you there, Benchmade, because I do like the knife very much. About $261 for it. Crew wear blade, like I mentioned, 5 inches in length. And here's where you can kind of work the cash in on the dividends that crew wear can provide. Normally when I think of a kind of outdoor / tactical crossover knife like this, I mean, this has got a straight up survival knife vibe to it, which in my mind is always sort of a blend between the outdoor and the tactical genres. You usually think of something that's a little bit thicker, a little bit more tough. Well, crew wear is a pretty tough steel. It's non-stainless, it's powder metal, holds an edge a good long time, but you've got a lot of toughness. And so they gave you a thinner blade than you might be expecting on this particular knife, so that you can slice better than a thicker blade, but you still have the toughness you're going to need for some harder use. Very, very cool. Kind of a tungsten gray coating. I think this is what they call their tungsten gray finish. Yes, tungsten gray Cerakote, quite nice. Drop point shape, enough of a point on it, but still enough belly for other tasks that you can do pretty much any, or you can make this knife fit into pretty much any genre. Plenty good finger guard here for protection, and in front of that you've got a sharpening choil that looks a little big. Reason for that is they sized this to be able to strike a fire steel with it, or your ferrocerium rod. The edges there are crisp, so you don't have to worry about using your actual edge, and you also don't have to worry about the discomfort from a crisp spine for those tasks. Size there is about 3/8 of an inch, so any fire steel that diameter or thinner will work just nicely. G10 handles, ridged for some extra traction, but not uncomfortable even with bare hands. Got some nice thumb scallops there for a pinch point. Full tang, nice comfortable pommel if you need to do any drilling stuff. Overall, just very impressed with this design. It's very smartly laid out, and the sheath, also quite good. It is bolt-around, so it's Kydex-like. You click in, you've got a drop loop with a drop rig with a webbing loop there, and a fabric loop here for the aforementioned fire steel, which is not included, but like I said, anything 3/8 inch or 3/8 inch in diameter will fit this just fine. Pinching it up there, yeah, looks about right. I would assume they made it able to fit the same size fire steel you'd be able to strike with the knife. It'd be kind of weird if they didn't. So overall, really cool package. And next, we've got a new version of the Meatcrafter from Benchmade, and they market this, of course, as a hunting knife. I think it makes a great kitchen knife as well. Whether you use it for butchering, breaking down game, whether you use it as a boning knife or even a fillet knife. Let's see if this one has, yeah, just a little bit of flex because of the thinness of the blade, and Benchmade engineers let us know the swedge here actually plays a part in that flex as well. It removes a little bit of the tension from a full length or a full thickness spine and gives you just that right amount of flex that they were going for. This version right here upgraded a little bit versus the standard rubbery handled version, which has CPM 154 blade steel. On this, we've got S45 VN, so more edge retention, still very good toughness, and we've got a carbon fiber handle over a full tang. Really cool. Orange Cerakote, I think it's Cerakote. Yep, orange Cerakote. Nice orange ring around the lanyard hole at the back as well. But this is just a great hunting, fishing, food prep, butchering knife. A lot of stuff you can do with this trailing point blade, just over 6 inches long. Comes with a bolt-around sheath. No belt attachment hardware is included, but most aftermarket stuff will work thanks to the hole and slot pattern here. Tech locks, ulti clips if you wanted to carry this like inside the waistband or something like that. All kinds of stuff works just fine with this guy. All right, now for something a little unexpected. This is a knife that, or announcement that took us all a little bit by surprise earlier this year. We have a crossbar locking knife, but it is not a Benchmade, even though I'm putting it next to the Benchmades in this video. This is part of Schrade's Alpha class, a new push towards more premium American-made products from Schrade, rather than the imported stuff that the brand is focused on for a number of years now. This is called the Truix Pivot Lock folding knife. Calling it the Pivot Lock, but everyone has every company seems to have their own name for them, which is why we usually call it the Crossbar Lock. $168 for this. For your money, you're getting an S35 VN blade with this Tonto profile, 3.5 inches or thereabouts. You've got a bead blasted finish, stainless steel bolsters, and black and white G10 inlays on both sides. Looks very nice. Deep carry pocket clip. Not reversible, which is unfortunate since everything else is completely ambidextrous. The tuning on this, out of the box, excellent. I've seen some like early prototypes from other companies where they're or some of the first releases with their crossbar locks, and they usually got better, but sometimes the earlier ones were a little bit stiff, a little bit tricky, but not the case here. This is excellent, exactly what you want it to be. A little bit more of a conical shape to the crossbar itself, which is kind of nice compared to most manufacturers which use a flatter design. Check out that mini Adamas right there as an example. Really good knife, really excellently done, especially for the price. I'd probably change a few things, like I wouldn't have gone with a bead blasted finish here, doesn't feel as premium. Maybe not gone with stainless steel for the bolsters, same reason. And I think the pocket clip needs a little bit more clearance, but that's really it. You know, I was wondering how well they were going to pull it off, and I gotta say, if they're going to keep going down this route, they are definitely on a very good track. Everything's put together quite well. The design works. Like I said, the things I'd change are just kind of little material tweaks. The actual shape works well. The handle feels good. It's a very useful shape, solid design all around. All right, one more fixed blade. No, there's more at the end actually, but we're putting some good ones right at the front. The BFF, the Boker Lucas Burnley designed Barlow pocket fixed blade. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, leather sheath with a pocket clip. One of my favorite genres of fixed blade. Another great new entry from Boker, who have been putting out, more than any other company, is really kind of leading the charge on a lot of different pocket fixed blade options out there today. Really cool knife right here, about $207 because this is not a Boker Plus. This is a German-made Boker knife. You've got AEBL steel, 2 3/4 of an inch. Nice little shape here. A little bit of a, well, it almost looks like a clip point because of the way this swedge is done, but technically that is a drop point. You've got a little bit of an arc going on there. Saber height grind. Let's see, are we hollow or flat here? Flat. I say it almost felt a little bit hollow there for just a second. I think my fingertips were deceiving me a little bit. Really cool heavy stonewashed finish. Really cool stonewashing on the brass pins as well that are set off on this green canvas micarta really nicely. Here's one of the little kind of artifacts you get from having material like micarta and a tight-fitting leather sheath like this. You can see it's kind of rubbing off the surface oils that may be on this piece of micarta, so you get the line where it's sitting in the sheath right there. No matter, that will break in over time. Definitely give it some character. Simple handle shape, kind of mimicking the slip joint Barlows, but you've got a full tang fixed blade here. Very neutral in its handling, so any different type of grip is going to work. Daily utility stuff is going to be great. It's going to be a really nice little whittling knife too. Sitting by the campfire, just working away. You've got a knife that's going to get out of its way while you work with it. Yeah, very, very cool little piece. All right, next we've got a Swiss Army knife, and I bet you can't guess. Most people anyway are not going to be able to guess what this particular model is until I tell you. So I'll hold off on doing that for just a second. What we have here is a white Celador Swiss Army knife from Victorinox with the Swiss countryside and landmarks kind of depicted in black on each side. Very striking, very nice, little bit of texture thanks to that pattern going on there, so you've got some grip, which is cool because normally this particular knife does have some extra grip inherent to it because it's not normally a Celador handled knife. This is the Cadet, which is normally an Alox handled Swiss Army knife. I'm not sure if they've ever done a non-Alox Cadet before, but if they have, I've never seen one and I can't remember any other instances of it. You've got the great Cadet tool set here. Cap lifter and can opener with your screwdriver tips on one side. Wire stripper notch, of course, as well. Nail file on the second layer with the main blade. Now, what you give up for the Celador handles here is it's not as slim carrying, obviously, but as a bonus, if you want a Cadet with toothpick and tweezers, you can get it right here. Very nice. Swiss Army aficionados, Victorinox aficionados out there, let me know if there's ever been a Celador handled Cadet before. It'd be pretty cool if there was, but I can't think of one. Yeah, 2022, only available this year, $52. There you go. Cool stuff. All right, next up, another, shall we say, plastic handled knife. The Stretch 2 XL from Spyderco is officially here. $112 or thereabouts for this. VG10 blade, just about 4 inches in length. And of course, this is essentially taking the straight spine Stretch that has been so popular since they started putting it out and embiggening it, essentially. Much bigger blade, not that much larger of a handle, actually. They kind of tidily fit in more blade without having to go too much bigger on the knife. The other thing they did a little different here is no liners on this knife. So despite the increase in size, you've actually got a reduction in weight on the larger knife. This one comes in 2.7 ounces for a 4-inch blade. If you're the kind of person who subscribes to the 1 ounce per inch of blade, and if you're under that, you're in good shape, you're way under that with this particular knife. Definitely not going to weigh you down, and you've got a ton of reach, ton of utility, great blade shape, great slicing capabilities, Excellent steel, takes a nice keen edge very nicely. 4-position pocket clip, ambidextrous opening hole, and mid-mounted backlock. Makes it one of those Spyderco designs that works well for everyone. You can choke up for finer control in that finger choil area there. And the balance on this, again, despite being a larger knife, it's very agile, very lightweight, not gonna get in your way. So I say all that to say, if you're a fan of the original Stretch, or the Stretch 2, I should say, the smaller knife, and you like the idea of a bigger one, the Stretch 2 XL is an excellent knife, but it doesn't feel like a bigger Stretch. It feels like a completely different knife in a way, completely different family, shall we say. Because again, it's bigger yet lighter. The smaller Stretch, which this is mine right here, without the straight spine, but otherwise the same, feels like a little bit more of a bruiser, a little bit more of a heavier duty work knife than the bigger knife does. Kind of interesting, so keep that in mind. Really cool nonetheless. The handle is barely any smaller than the XL, but you've got a considerable amount more blade there. Hopefully you can get a good kind of feeling for the two right there. Pretty cool knife, just don't expect it to feel like a bigger Stretch. It feels like its own thing, but it does feel very good. All right, next up we have a new auto, the Hogue Ballista I to be exact. 2 different blade shapes. You've got your tanto and your drop point. You've got 2 different handle finishes. You've got your blue anodized aluminum and your black anodized aluminum paired up with these nicely stone-washed blades. I think you can also get the drop point with a black blade as well at this point in time. Really cool, very nice. And the level of fit and finish on these knives, being a Hogue, I expect it to be quite good and definitely not disappointed. They feel great. The handles, one of my favorites on any Hogue knife out there right now actually. Feels really good in my hands, just enough length. You've got the choil there for choking up if you want closer control, but they also left a little sharpening choil ahead of that so that when you are choked up, you're not on the sharpened edge with the back of the heel of the blade right there. So you've got a little extra safety built in. Deep carry pocket clip, reversible. This is the pocket clip that originally showed up on the SIG K320 made by Hogue. So it is deep carry, which can sometimes make a knife a little bit more difficult to extract, but by adding these louvers or little pushed up sections here, they give you more traction there, so you can actually pull it out of the pocket a little bit better. As far as the operation of the knife, it is a push button automatic. You've got a safety switch there that'll work in both the open and closed positions. So if you're worried about accidental deployment, lock it in place, blade's not going anywhere. When you're ready to work, feels really good. Really good feeling action overall. And if you want a little bit extra safety, just slide that switch forward again. Very, very cool. Excellent size. I'd say the only thing I don't like about this, well, I haven't finished telling you about all the specs. 3.5-inch blade, 154 cm steel, aluminum handles, like I mentioned. The only thing I don't like about it is I wish there was a manual version of this, because it's just a great utility-driven shape. But if you can carry an auto where you live or work, definitely give it a look. Do not overlook the Ballista series. Very nice. All right, speaking of push-button knives, or shall we say button-lock knives at the very least, we have a new version of the Kizer Cormorant in stock. Very popular knife now with a new handle material, or a new handle pattern, I should say, kind of leaning into the push-button nature with some PlayStation-inspired graphics on there, so you feel like you can push the actual buttons on there. But it's just kind of a little wink, a little bit of having a little bit of fun because you've got the button lock action on this particular knife. $119 for it, which for what you're actually getting a lot of good amount of performance there. S35 VN steel, 3¼ inch. It's the only reverse tanto on the table today, Thomas. Yeah, nothing else even comes close today. Sorry, buddy.
Only takes one.
He just needs the one to get him through the day. Deep carry pocket clip, reversible for either side. And I really like it when you've got a button lock knife that has action like this where you actually can reverse the pocket clip. Because even though it's not symmetrical side to side for righties and lefties, operating a button lock like this with the left hand, still very easy. No problems whatsoever. So having the clip be reversible is a good thing. Now here's where, this right here I think is what explains how popular the Cormorant has been. Very strange looking, you might say. You've got several different ways to open this. You've got the tab here on the back, which works just like a normal flipper. The button lock, because of the free swinging action, allows you to swing it closed. You can do the lighter flick, if I don't botch it. There you go. You can also do front flipping stuff, thanks to the tab there at the front. And I'm a little worse at flicking this one, but it works just nicely. You can do your standard thumb open, you can do that middle finger flick. If you're the kind of person who looks for like the fidgetability of a knife when you're making your purchasing decision, this thing has pretty much everything. It's got everything except a spring, basically. And even then there is a spring for the push the button lock back out. But you know what I mean, no spring assist, no automatic thing in any of that sort of regard. Fidgety, yes, still very useful, just a great little day-to-day shape. Yes, you've got the reverse tanto profile here. I might just call it a straight clip point because you still got a decent amount of belly there. It's still a very versatile shape. Hollow ground, very thin behind the edge, very sharp right out of the box. This is just the first of many new Kizers this week, actually. We've got another button lock. This is part of the Vanguard series, so a little bit lower in price, 69 bucks for the Assassin. There you go, 3-inch blade, 154 cm steel, satin finish. Unique drop point shape here. It's got interesting character, a lot longer drop here at the top, but it's still, I don't know, in a way it's kind of like an abstract Barlow blade shape, I would say, like an abstract spear point Barlow. What do you think of this?
You know what I think.
I should never ask, should I? Handles here are also really, really special. Red paper micarta, very cool stuff. Button lock there. Interesting difference between this standard button lock, which still has that free swinging action, still has great flipping action. Different from the Cormorant, you'll notice no stop pin on the back here of the Cormorant. And that's because the button actually stays captive inside the tang of the blade. So it has a very clean profile when closed. It's also a little more complicated to produce because there's nothing wrong with having the stop pin and being able to see the button mechanism itself on this particular knife. Really like this as an EDC option. It's flippy, fidgety fun, really special handle material there. You don't see a lot of stuff or a lot of folders, especially in this price range, using it. Kizer's pretty much the only one I think I know of doing it well these days. Deep carry pocket clip, reversible. With this style of lock, it's going to work for just about anyone. It's the right size and shape too to work just about anywhere. Interestingly, if it weren't for just one tiny little detail here, but even depending on where you are, this may not even make any difference. But apart from this one thing I'll mention in a second, this is kind of like the Civivi Elementum. If for the folks who were wishing that the button lock version of the Elementum was the same size as the original Elementum and not larger instead, and still came with a flipper tab, this knife is worth a look. It's very similar handle shape, but it has a little bit more personality. It's got that blade shape, very utility driven. It's got a flat grind rather than a hollow grind. That is a difference there. But it ticks a lot of the same boxes. You've still got a flipper, you've got the fidgety button lock, and I mentioned one tiny little detail. When measured from tip to scale, this is just like the barest hint over a 3-inch blade, whereas the Elementum is just under 3 inches. So if you need that 3-inch length for legality reasons somewhere, this particular knife, the Kizer Assassin, is not going to be a viable replacement. But if not, definitely. All right, next up, we've got a new blade shape on the Latt Vind Mini from Kizer's in-house designers. This is another knife, 69 bucks. Blade length here is just over 3 inches. Kind of a modified Wharncliffe shape, N690 steel, full flat grind, and the edges up top here kind of just a little bit eased kind of the whole way down. A very nice little touch. A slightly more premium feel to it overall because of that. Interesting handle materials here. You've got a kind of what do we call it? Tiffany blue G10, in fact, with a white inlay in the middle and a white backspacer. Very classy looking. There's also a pink with white version right now. So especially by calling it Tiffany blue, I think they're definitely leaning towards a particular demographic with this knife. It's just a great little utility shape here as well. We've got a deep carry pocket clip on this knife, nice and small and subtle, and an inset liner lock, inset liners on both sides of the handle itself. It's a nice tidy fold when it's in the closed position. Might fit into some smaller pockets out there, although it's not super short. Another knife with dual flipping options. You've got the rear flipper, which works great. I haven't tried the Bic lighter flick test yet, but it works excellent. Ball bearings in the pivot here, of course. And then you've got the front flipping action, which took me a little bit to find the right angle, but once you do, it is really snappy, which is quite nice overall. Great little daily box opener, package cutter, every little thing you need in life. All right, next up we have a couple new colorway variants for the Yorkie, a Ray Laconico design with Kizer. Both of them come in at $119. There is a version with red paper micarta, like that Assassin we looked at earlier, and a satin blade. And you've got the white G10 here with a black blade. Both of them M390 steel, length coming in about 2.5 inches. Nice, suitable size for easy concealment, easy carry without taking up too much space. The white color here is nice. It's not really a brilliant white. It's a little bit more of an eggshell. Gives it a little bit of a hint of like a vintage vibe. Contrasted, of course, with the black blade and hardware, which is not quite vintage, but it's an interesting contrast nonetheless. Great little size, kind of a 3.5 finger grip without any kind of finger guard to get in the way. You can kind of hold it in a lot of different grips, give up a little bit of finger protection at the same time. Just one of those kind of classic trade-offs. Inset liners with a liner lock. Single position milled titanium pocket clip, but dual thumb studs, ball bearings. Man, this pops open really well. Love the blade shape, love the full flat grind. Just an excellent little EDC. We've also got a new variant of the Feist, a Justin Lundquist design from Kizer, with a new blade shape as well. A drop point blade that I don't think we've seen on the Feist up to this point. $99 for this one, CPM 4V blade steel. So it's not stainless, but it is tough and holds an edge quite well. Really cool to see this material being used more on folders these days. Red Richlight handles in this case, which is funny. They're using a paper micarta on a knife like the Assassin right here. Richlight is pretty much the same stuff as paper micarta. It's made a little bit differently. It's a different brand, of course, as well, but it's a paper reinforced stuff, or a paper and resin material, just the same as paper micarta. This one's a little bit more burgundy. It has a little bit of a swirl to it too, which is pretty cool. Inset liners with a liner lock, ball bearings in the pivot, deep carry pocket clip, single position with tip up on the right side, and a front flipper that works quite well. Again, just like the Yorkie we just looked at, nice neutral handle shape that you can use in any kind of grip. None of the handle is going to work against you because of its shape. And it's just fit for purpose for just being just a pocket knife, which is, quite honestly, in a way refreshing. Some things try to be too much. Both of these two knives, they're just excellent pocket knives. All right, now for something that took me by surprise, because just a quick glance in the photos, this knife does not appear as large as it is in hand. For $69, this is the Kizer Comfort by Michael Pretsch. Look at how thick and chunky those handles are.
If a beanbag chair was a knife.
Hilarious. That's fantastic. It feels great. That's always kind of the trade-off with folders. Most folders aren't that comfortable. There's a few here this week that I think especially are. That Adamas we looked at earlier, the mini Adamas, is great. These Hogues, I think, work really well. But even then, there's trade-offs to that. Usually a fixed blade has a better chance of being a truly comfortable handle, or you do something like this. Very thick G10, sculpted away just around the corners, just enough so that it fills the hand, doesn't feel shrimpy, doesn't really feel like there's too many hot spots to speak of either. 154 cm blade, 3¼ inches, and let's think about what this would be really good for. Heavier work, where you're really using a knife all the time, if you don't want to or are unable to carry a fixed blade, great option. Very comfy handle. Sitting around, doing lots of wood carving, bushcraft stuff, fantastic option. Beyond that, I think maybe this could be a really good option for folks with kind of finger control or hand control issues, arthritis, for example. Let me know what you folks think out there that suffer from this. Does this look attractive to you for that? Not knowing, not having firsthand arthritic experience, I can't say for sure, but something tells me that this could be a really good option because there is a lot to hold on to. If it's hard for you to kind of work with something smaller, if it's too fiddly, if it's too hard to hold on to, the Comfort could be a great option. As far as the rest of the knife, apart from the handle, we've got a liner lock, dual liners not nested here. We have washers in this pivot as opposed to ball bearings, so less worry about dust. And you've got a little bit more of a smooth, deliberate feeling as opposed to like a free-floating ball bearing type of action. Feels good. You've got the opening tab there, kind of like a traditional friction folder, although this does have the liner lock, of course. Easy enough to open for me, one-handed, if you're dealing with maybe some arthritic issues. I don't know. Again, I don't have first-hand experience, but let me know what you guys think, guys and gals who do suffer from that out there. I think it's really cool. I was not expecting, well, I saw it in the photos. I thought, oh, that looks kind of cool. Bring it in here. I saw it on the table, and then I was like, whoa, what the heck? And I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but it really is growing on me. It's kind of a fat-handled folding puukko design. You can really see that puukko heritage, that Finnish knife design language with the straight spine here, with it's not a Scandi grind, but you've got a really short primary flat bevel here with the secondary edge, but visually it kind of looks Scandi-esque. So it's kind of hard to not see big fat folding puukko when I think of this design. Very cool. All right, next up is a knife that also kind of took me by surprise because on paper, this is something that I normally wouldn't gravitate to, but I love this knife. This is the Andre de Villiers Box Butcher, ADV, Box Butcher. $155 for it. For a true, like, kind of daily, quote-unquote, utility knife, there's a lot here to appreciate. Just under 3 inches on the sharpened length of the blade, S35 VN, if I hadn't mentioned that yet. High flat grind, we'll say a mid-height flat grind because you've got the full-length fullers on each side of the blade right at the top of the grind itself. Not a huge handle, kind of a 3-finger grip, but you've got that index finger hole there. So you're going to be hard-pressed, honestly, to drop this knife. If you need to pull it out of the sheath, rip through some boxes, rip through some heavy cable ties, heavy zip straps, anything like that. This is a really cool working knife. I'm really digging it. Have I told you I like it yet?
No.
I like it.
Cool.
Okay, you can be quiet now. No. G10 on this one in orange, couple different handles. Feels nice. It's got the thickness there to be a heavier use knife, something you could really thrash on. And then, again, even though you only have the 3 fingers, that index finger cutout gives you more security for some of those heavier tasks. Sheath, it's going to be very easy to carry this with you day to day. Kydex imprinted with a kind of a carbon fiber-like looking pattern here. Dots style locking attachment for the belt so you can carry it in any orientation. You could even throw some of the longer ulti clips onto this if you wanted to carry it in the pocket or inside the waistband, maybe behind your back. It might be real easy to get to it and get it back in there quite nicely. But no matter which way you prefer to carry it, real easy to get in and grab it because right there, even while it's in the sheath, all of your gripping fingers are on the handle. You don't have to adjust anything. Pull it out, make your cuts, slap it back in the sheath, and you're on with your job. Next up, we've got something with kind of, in my mind anyway, kind of has a similar attitude to this ADV. This is the Zoo Bladeworx Ultralight Fixed Blade. They say ultralight, but it's not that ultralight. It's more of a name kind of talking about how this is really stripped down. But the actual weight on this knife, just the blade, 4.8 ounces, and with the sheath, we're talking 6.5. So it's not like an ultra weight saving knife. It's just a very minimal knife, but a very brutal feeling knife at the same time. $350 for it. You've got a 4-inch blade here, double ground with D2 blade steel, and a really cool Cerakote finish on here with this dark bronze. Has a nice shimmer to it. The blade itself is sturdy. I mean, even though D2 holds an edge really well in terms of actual toughness and like flex, D2 is not the toughest out there, but with this knife being a full 1/4 inch thick, I'm not worried about that whatsoever. You've definitely got one tough customer here, but very comfortable. I love the way all of the corners are crowned. Well, not just the corner chamfered, like the whole side of it is crowned. You've got strategic jimping that adds traction while not being sharp. Very hard to pull off, judging by some of the folks out there, the way they execute things. Holds in quite nicely. You've got 2 holes and a slot here if you wanted to do some kind of paracord wrap or even make your own set of scales if you wanted more grip. I don't know, maybe even I wonder if they offer their own sets of scales, or maybe they're planning to on the future. No idea if that's the case whatsoever. Super solid feeling, which it should be since it's just one solid piece of steel. Sheath, we're dealing with Kydex in this case. Let me make sure I put it in the right way. Clicks in. Hole pattern there will fit a small tech lock, no problem, so you can still carry it horizontal, upside down, side to side, right side up, however you wish. To kind of completely go the other direction by way of contrast, we've got 2 new keychain sized, very inexpensive Ontario knives designed for like real mass market stuff here. We've got the Traveler slip joint and the Navigator liner locking flipper here at the bottom, both $12 right now. For that, you shouldn't expect premium stuff. We're getting synthetic handles, injection molded stuff here, several different colors, blues, reds, as you can see here, including purples, yellows, a few other things as well. Blade steel is stainless. That's all I happen to know about these right now. Flipping action, again, don't expect premium for the $12 price point, but if you're looking for something you can give out to just about anyone, you've got great little keychain size. Flipping action might take a little bit more, but very usable little blade shape there with a nice hollow grind going on. If you're wondering about the length, this is the Navigator. It's about 2.13 inches long, and that's the same length as you get on the Traveler slip joint here with the more conventional spear point shape going on. Not a whole lot of tension on the slip joint, but very easy to use. Very intuitive, even for non-knife people to use. Just make sure they know proper knife use for this non-locking knife right here. The other cool detail, if we're looking for an ultralight knife, 0.8 ounces. Practically nothing. So I could actually see this being an option or being something that ultralight hikers might look to. I would still recommend carrying a Mora instead, but I know there are going to be folks out there that are going to look to something like this thanks to that low weight. All right, that's all I have to show you folks this week. Let me know your favorites down in the comments. What struck you this week? If you want to get your hands on any of the knives in the meantime, links will be in the description as always. That'll take you to the KnifeCenter. And make sure you're signed up for our Knife Rewards program. All you have to have is just your regular KnifeCenter account, because if you're gonna spend your money on one of these knives, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next ones. I'm David C. Anderson from the KnifeCenter. That's Thomas behind the camera, and we're signing off. See you next time.